So tell me please, with a 10, let's talk about the actions first. What were some of the actions that you listed that you feel are consistent with an excellent relationship? Please.
I just said something simple, of being a really good listener
Okay.
and listening to.
Can you define what a good listener looks like?
Probably the trap sometimes people fall into is that we become defensive.
Uh-huh.
We want to tell the mother, it's not, I tried and the kid didn't want to try this and that. That's not important to the mother one drop. If she doesn't care about your life, or I would have called you back, but I was so busy in your business. She wants to hear that you hear her.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes saying less and listening and rephrasing what they're saying
Uh-huh.
opens up a whole new door.
Okay. So you just actually mentioned quite a few very good listening strategies. I heard being quiet.
Being there.
I will add being there, eyes on the individual. Posture, which also communicates that. Right? When you lean in a little bit, right? And also, we all know what the defensive postures could look like, right? With the various types of things, sitting back a little bit. There's nothing wrong with generally keeping your arms over your leg. We have to put our hands somewhere. We all struggle with that issue. Where do I put my hands? But to put it in a way where it's up here, where the shoulders tend to go up, that obviously also conveys, I'm listening, but I'm waiting for my time to give in my word
That's
and
me,
what you have to
defensive
say.
posture as well.
Right, that could be
So it's my turn, what do you know?
right. Well, it's
ready.
defensive and or not so interested in giving you your time. So obviously that's an important piece of it. The other thing you said that I thought was great was rephrasing. Rephrasing means, and I'm putting it in my own words, but it's really what you heard. And then you ask, did I hear correctly?
And sometimes they'll say,
Is that
I
what you
think,
said?
right.
I think what I heard,
Right.
or what I think you were trying to tell me is
Right.
this. Did I get it right?
And they'll always
Something like
say,
that.
no, because da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
You say, oh,
Okay, well then at least you asked that question. Okay, that's wonderful. What else? Now, of course, sometimes the listening could be over the phone. It's not always going to be in person. But where it is in person, you want to do that. And of course, even the seating could make a difference there, right? Face-to-face seating, where you're within relative close proximity of the other person. It shouldn't feel like I'm behind my desk. Right? Oftentimes, teachers, administrators for sure do this, but even teachers will use this sort of like a little fortress. And so they'll put the parents over here, and the teacher will sit over there with all of her papers and evidence or whatever she's got going on. I would encourage you at conference and other times, if you don't do this already, to sit maybe at this little pod over here, maybe change the chairs, but you get the idea. And this way you're facing each other, you're on even playing ground, and there's more of a sense of team and community that way than the opposite. Does that make sense? Anything else for 10? So far we got listener, non-defensive. What else does a 10 look like? Yes?
Well, I had said before that you, if there is an issue,
Yes?
if there is an issue,
Yes?
to work together, and that would be also
So what are the
listening to people.
behaviors and let's start with the actions. What would be an action that you're referring to that would fit that description?
Well, certainly the listening.
Okay, anything else?
Because you want to work as a team, so you're listening. I can see the rephrasing there also, and
Uh-huh.
then possibly adding a new element to it.
Okay, okay,
And coming up with a plan, a strategy that you're going to work on together, that each party feels they've contributed something, so the parents feel like they're an active participant in
Okay.
this.
so something we're trying to develop together based on what we know and see about the child.
Right.
Okay, one of the things that I think you were intimating, I'm not sure you said it explicitly, is creating the framework where we view each other as being members of the same team.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how you would do that? How can you create an environment where the parents feel that you're really there to work with them? Yeah?
Well, one of the things we discussed in our little circle here is, and it's kind of similar to what you're saying, is building trust and coming to a point where the parents really trust that you have the child's best interest in mind.
Okay,
And once you have that, then the planning is so different.
sure.
But I'm not trying to get this wild kid to be good. I'm
Mhm.
trying to build your child's capacity and his
Mhm.
competence for being the
Mhm.
best little boy he can be.
Mhm. So that is both that is an item, but that's also a feeling in a sense.
Well, it's the
But
next
I
layer.
feel that I can trust you and that you have my child's best interest. And that comes from, how do you build that trust?
Working together.
Okay, what
Well, what
else?
comes first, chicken or the
Well-
egg?
Right.
Well, the trust is not gonna come initially. There might be some basic trust, because the school vetted you out and you're a teacher there and all of this. So I'm not thinking that you're some guy off the street. Clearly, there's something there, but you wanna go to that next level, please.
Trust comes from the parent knowing that you treat their child as an individual
Okay,
and not, like, showing the parent that you're making decisions for that child based on the child's individual needs and not as a whole.
okay,
And I think that if the parent sees that, then they're more willing to trust your decisions and trust you with their child in the classroom, and they in turn become less defensive.
right, okay. Yeah, and that's gonna make a big difference. I like the point about that individual focus, really keeping it on that child, right? I will tell you, I have a child in high school, and that child recently did something not appropriate, but not egregious, in my opinion. But the consequence.
You're the easy parent, right?
But the consequence was definitely more, in my mind, severe considering what was happening. So I got a whole song and dance from the administration about the class and the dynamic and the issue with the teacher and how if they don't put their foot down, the outcome will be blah, 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 whatever that is. And maybe all of it is true, I'm not questioning it fundamentally. But when I heard it from the perspective of a parent, and I was hearing it as, you're not really considering my kid in this, per se, because again, he's not usually the rabble-rouser, he tends to follow this particular child. The specifics outside of that are not that important, but you're just sort of throwing the book at him because of the way that you see you need to do it for the class benefit, let's call it. They lost me, and I told them that. I said, I don't agree with your opinion, with your view, and you lost my support. I was very clear. I didn't yell at them, but I was very clear that in that relationship, which was built off of knowing the child and working with the child, here you decided to prioritize another agenda, in my opinion, that was not for the betterment of the child, for the sake of your other needs, whatever those might be. Now, I know a school has to do that sometimes. I know it can't always be every kid in a vacuum, but the way that it was expressed and knowing the history, in that particular case, I told them that I disagreed. Yes, what did you want to say?
I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
This is something I struggle with sometimes. Why is it your business as a parent to know their calculations? In other words, what they were thinking was best for the school,
Right.
should they be sharing that with you, or should they not? Like, if I have a teacher that, maybe was hard on a student or something, there's this kind of discussion.
Yes?
And when she'll want to say to the parent, but the class has a hard time focusing as a whole, so I had to do this, that's why I took away that. To me, the parent doesn't care about the rest of the class.
Correct.
So should a parent, should a
Well, I mean,
school
let's put it
share
this way, the
the big
school,
picture?
I don't think the school should come across as
Or the class
completely capricious, clearly. In other words, the school needs to be able to justify a decision, especially a punitive decision.
Mhm.
So if you have a situation where the school needs to come down on a child, if the response is logical on its own merits, I would leave it just there. Because the child did something, ideally you want what's called a natural consequence,
Right.
where there's a natural outgrowth of the behavior. But for the school to then involve other things, usually that only gets the school into hot water.
Or the
Because like you
teacher's
said,
class, right.
yeah, because either it says the teacher's not competent, or the school can't manage in another way, et cetera. Okay, anything else on the side of 10? Any other behaviors, any other feelings?
Simple behavior, I think, just the idea of how often do we communicate with parents proactively?
Okay, so frequency.
And if
Is
they,
that what you mean?
right, and if they email you or call you, how long does it take for them to get a return?
Uh-huh.
Just
Okay,
communication.
what about the quality of the communication? Frequency is a piece of it. There's quantitative and qualitative. Any thoughts on the quality of the conversation? How that, what that kind of feedback might look like? You told me before, somebody talked about knowing the needs of the individual. I will tell you, when I was a principal, one summer, it took me an awfully long time to do this, but I bought like blank cards, some nice color on the outside, but empty on the inside. And I used the same language for every teacher. And I said, "Dear so-and-so, I'm looking forward to a wonderful year of working together." And in the second line, I made it personal. And it said something along the lines of, I really appreciate the way that you, and try to identify something about that teacher that was unique and special to her or to him. And then the third sentence was again generic, looking forward to, some kind of wrap up, and then sincerely, and I signed it. And I had to write like, I don't know, 50 of those or however many. And it took a little while, you can imagine. I remember very distinctly that the impact of that was very significant, because the reality is we as teachers need to have our own breakfast of champions, our own bowl of Wheaties every now and again. We need that fuel to really keep us going. And I actually have, I don't know if you have something similar, I have like a file folder where I keep all those parent appreciative notes, whatever I would, got over the years, because every now and again you're sort of having one of those moments, and you want to be able to open that up and get recharged and re-energized. So I think the same thing is true for our parents as well, and for our kids, right? The more you can personalize the feedback, I really like the way your child does that, whatever that might be. If it's generic, and you say your child is performing well and he's acing all of his tests and this and that, that's nice. But if you can say something specific about what the child does, either as a chesed type statement, the other day he did or she did the following, I observed this, I observed that, I really love his smile, right, it brings some light to our classroom, and things like that. Parents often will feel that sense of appreciation, that you're really taking the time to know their kid.